Underneath the superficial self, which pays attention to this and that, there is another self, more really us than I. And if you become aware of that unknown self, the more you become aware of it, the more you realize that it is inseparably connected with everything else that there is. That you are a function of this total galaxy, bounded by the Milky Way, and that furthermore this galaxy is a function of all other galaxies. And that vast thing that you see far off with telescopes, and you look and look and look, one day you're going to wake up and say, why, that's me.
Hey, what's going on, y'all? Welcome back to another episode of Crash and Chugg. We have
here. It's been a minute. How you been?
Been good, man. Just been busy, doing a lot of different stuff. Just got back from Colorado last week, and I'm just trying to get back in the swing of things, trying to get podcasts lined up and what have you. But this week, I don't know. I kind of want to change it up a little bit, and I don't know, just kind of get into the whole topic of what surprisingly is being talked about, but not to the extent what the profound extent of what maybe I feel, or like the relevance of it is extraterrestrials, aliens, or at least some objects that are flying around in the sky that nobody seems to know what they are or where they came from. And
it's like that would be like the little kid in second grade trying to figure out why the fifth graders are always picking on them. Don't nobody want them problems. Like, you start digging. Okay.
Yeah. But at some point, is it gonna, when they do show up, those people that choose not to, like, kind of keep the blinders on, if you will be the ones that would panic the most? Not to say that people that are tracking it are not going to panic to some extent, but if you're not aware of it, at least like on your peripheral, or kind of understand what's going on. I'm not saying to dive deep into it, just kind of just be aware of it.
Yeah, that is a good, I don't know, a good thing to think about though. It's like, what would your reaction, how would your reactions differ? Like, if you knew about it and then you actually seen it, would you trip out more? Or if you didn't know nothing about it and then you seen it, would you be like, I don't know what that is, so you wouldn't trip about it? Or if you seen it, would you, that's a good question.
And it all depends. It really all depends on the level of what you experience. Like, so if you just see a light in the sky and it's moving really fast, like, you can't really explain it. So that's what essentially UFO is, or now it's called a UAP, unidentified aerial phenomenon, is what,
What? I was today years old when I heard that acronym.
Today years old?
Yeah.
That was the first time I heard that was Hillary Clinton. She said it on a talk show. And yeah, they were like, they always ask the question, like, to kind of get a little edgy on these talk shows, like, if you become president, when she was running for president, will you disclose to the American public, what UFOs are or what have you? And she was like, oh, the term now is UAP, and so it's unidentified aerial phenomenon.
It's
so they changed that, the word, the acronym on that. But yeah, that was like 20. Whenever she ran, 2016, 20, whatever year that was. But yeah, so that's changed, like the verbiage around it. There's I think his name's, I don't know if it's Steve Elizondo, or he was part of a program called ATIP. I don't remember what the acronyms was, but that program was set up to kind of track UFOs, and like there's organizations that are officially coming out to include the Pentagon, at least acknowledging that there's something in the There's even been videos, there's even been photos like that have been officially released to the public stating like, hey, we don't know what these are. So much so like the one of the biggest videos that has the most evidence attached to it because of all the different, not only like the eyewitnesses, but um the FLIR camera, which is the cameras under the aircraft, as well as other air radar and all these different things have been like tracking. They all got eyes on this object at the same time. And so before it was like we don't have enough evidence, but videos like that are coming out are supporting that argument, like what that is. But to go back to your question is, to what level? Okay, I'll just say this: when I was probably like, I don't know, 9 or 10, man, maybe this is why it intrigues me so much. I was driving. Well, I wasn't driving. My mom was driving. Me, well, she was driving. I was in the passenger seat. My mom was driving. My brother was in the back seat, and we were driving to New Mexico. Crazy enough. And he was going to, yeah, and it gets even a little crazier the destination we're going because he had just graduated high school, maybe like a year or so before that. He was going to Job Corps, which was, and the school was in New Mexico, which was in Roswell, New Mexico. So we were driving him back to school because he was home for the holidays, whatever. He was fucking hungover in the back. And we're just driving, right? We're driving down this road, I don't know, probably, I don't know, 2 a.m. or whatever time it was. I just know it's pitch black out. And I've been through New Mexico recently, and there's a lot more that's growing around, like a lot of these highways and what have you.
Yeah.
So we're driving down, and we're just, that's back in the day when there wasn't cell phones, like we're just talking, whatever I'm talking about. Yeah, I'm just trying to talk to her, keep her up, and we're just kind of bullshitting, talking and whatever. And we see it like a light down the road, and it looked like a motorcycle light, like it was a good distance away, and we didn't think nothing of it. And we're just driving, and we just kind of see this light. And after a while, it was kind of like we couldn't stop talking about it because we didn't know what it was, because it didn't seem, we had been seeing it for a while and it wasn't coming any closer. And if it was like very subtly coming closer. So it's like, and me, I guess, I don't want to say skeptical, but I was trying to justify what it was. I was like, well, maybe it's a motorcycle.
Of course you were, even at a young age. Of course you were.
I was like, well, maybe it's a motorcycle. Maybe it's this. Maybe it's that. And so she was more curious, and she has a lot more experience behind like her belt than I do. So she started speeding up, which is smart. But my mom was a pretty curious person as well. So she was like, speeding up, and as we're like kind of just looking at it, talking about it, whatever, it seems like we're starting to get closer to it. But at a certain point, this object, which was seemingly getting closer, it started to like go backwards. And in my mind, I was like, it's probably a train. Maybe it's a train off the road. And now it's, when they hook up the carts and then they start pulling it back, like, and so maybe it's a train. And then she started speeding up. She was like, I don't think it's a train. And we're just driving, right? And it starts to speed up. And then you can start seeing this light going over like terrain, it's just like, but it's going backwards. I'm like, man, that fucking train's moving pretty quick. That's what I was thinking in my mind. And I was just like, we're like, what is that? And she keeps, speeding up. And it's like somebody got a laser pointer at a wall. You ever put a laser pointer at the wall and you just go up? That's how fast this light went up, straight up into the sky. And I mean, that was it. I mean, essentially, that was all that happened. And we were just like surprised and didn't know what to say.
I could see why you would be surprised.
Yeah. So it was, and that's something I didn't really start talking about till like recently. And it wasn't for any other reason than just like, that's all it was. I mean,
you remember the time of year that it was?
No, not specifically. I know it was cold outside. So winter time, I guess.
Okay.
Because like maybe like a few minutes later, we had a flat tire, and then we had to wake up my brother so you can change it because I was still too young to know how to change a damn tire. I mean, I'm pretty sure I could have figured it out, but
Yeah.
yeah. So we had to wake him up and we had to change the flat tire. But that was the only thing that happened, and it was that's kind of always like been in the back of my mind. And fast forward, I don't know, 20, 30 years or so, joining the military. I've seen a lot of aircraft. We've seen both a lot of aircraft, especially in UAE. But I've seen a lot of aircraft that have moved very, very fast, and it's nothing. And it was silent too. I didn't add that. It was silent. We didn't hear anything. Like it wasn't no noise. There was
What
no.
if what if you guys had been like taken and you guys thought that you were looking at it, but you were actually frozen in time, and then they put you back in the car, and then it took off.
So that was like hey, look over here, look over here, look over here.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know, man. That would be crazy. I mean, because
You wouldn't know.
I wouldn't know. Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, nobody in the whole car would know. Nobody would know.
especially if you consider with a lot of the theories that are kind of going with now, they're interdimensional beings, because a lot of these UFOs or UAPs, they'll see them come in to the like pop into the camera and then pop out like they're phasing in and out of like our dimension, which is
Yeah.
strange. And there's a whole lot of. I'm probably not gonna do it any justice. So if there's any like UAP or UFO, like people that are really deep in the weeds, I've always kind of just like dabbled on it. I've never really kind of dove in deep. I've kind of watched a bunch of different documentaries. I've saw some things on Project Blue Book with Albert Hynek and like the Air Force back in the 50s, explaining away since the Roswell incident. And
So what would you do if an encounter happened where they popped down and was like, all right, yep, you're right. You'll come with us to see what life is other than this place. What would you do?
I think I would go. I don't know. I mean, I'm a curious person. I mean, it also depends on feel, right? Like if you have a fear, an innate fear, then it's probably not good. You got to like pay attention to that. I mean, there could be just the standard fear of,
The unknown.
yeah, the unknown. And like, obviously, like you're probably looking at something. And that's what's strange because Travis Walker, Travis Walton is, there was a movie that came out like in the 90s. It was called Fire in the Sky. And he was one of the abductees, one of the famous abductees from UFO. They were in Snowflake, Arizona, I want to say. I might be jacking that up, but they were in Snowflake, Arizona, and they were logging they were loggers. They were cutting trees down, and so they were done with the work site. They were driving out. They saw a light, like a bright light in the woods, like maybe just short off the road. For whatever reason, everyone was screaming for like to keep going because they stopped because they were all in shock. They didn't know what it was. He got out of the truck and ran towards it, and he got like, I guess whatever the UFO was doing, whatever it kind of like the energy source or whatever from it kind of let out like I don't want to say exploded, but it discharged or whatever it was doing, and he was so close to it that it blew him back. They thought he was dead. They left him there because they were scared. They left him there, and then when they came back to get him, shortly thereafter, after they left, he was missing. And
He was missing. They left him.
yeah, I mean they were scared. They thought he was dead, and then they went back for him. He was missing. Fast forward 2 weeks later. There's a big investigation. People thinks that they killed him because he didn't show up, and his brother, like this whole story around it. You guys can go do research on it. But with that is the understanding that so fast forward, he's still alive because he showed up. He called his brother from a phone booth, which was like miles away from wherever where he was left at. And they all took lie detector tests. I mean, those are kind of, you can't really, but they all told, this is back in the 70s. So they all told the same story. They all passed the lie detector test. like a few times, I believe. He's never made money off of it. I don't think any of them have made money off of it. They've all told the same story to this day. Travis Walton is still alive, and he got interviewed on Joe Rogan, and to, like after like 45 years or whatever the time has been since that day, and he kind of gives his perspective on it. And where I'm going with this is that he says on one of them that when he was up in this like ship, he feels like they were trying to fix him because he wasn't supposed to be in this area. And when he got close to it, it was just kind of like, I hate to use the word collateral damage, but they didn't expect him to be there or whatever, run up to it. I mean,
yeah, like who runs up to a big ball of energy? Like,
yeah,
I don't think right now. I don't know. It might be situational based, but if I were to see some big blast of energy or big ball of energy, I don't think I'm running toward it. I don't
right.
think I'm in my car and driving to it. But that's just me, though.
Exactly. And I probably would do the same thing. I mean, I might pull out a phone or something, or I don't know.
Yeah, I can see that.
I say that, but okay, let me finish my point and I'll get back to that. So
right.
he talks about it from like the mindset, the life experiences, thinking about it for 40 plus years, thinking about like what happened. And he talks about how not people, but how when he was on this table or whatever, there was like childlike creatures that came in, and he was obviously scared. I mean, one, he was hurting, I'm sure. Two, he was fucking scared because he don't know where he's at. And they like try to walk up to him. I guess, I don't know if they had instruments in their hands or not, but he like kind of pushed them where he said he felt them, and it was like pushing a child, like they were really small. Instead of like resisting or like trying to hold them down, they left. And then this is the fucking crazy part. According to him, like, and I can only go off, he sounds like he's telling the truth, and he sounds like he's giving it a lot of thought. And I mean, there is some credibility to it. Like if he hasn't made money off of it and he's been telling the same story for 40 plus years or whatever, that some people came in, not people, yeah, like they look like humans, and they were talking to him, but like telepathically, and they were just trying to calm him down. In other words, they sent somebody in that looked like him, like another human, to, you know, be like the, I don't want to say the ambassador, but like the
translator.
Yeah, to kind of make them feel more at ease. So he talks about that experience, and if you guys haven't listened to it, I recommend like you go check it out. At the very least, it's entertaining to listen to. I'm not saying that everything I hear and listen to, I believe. I mean, I listen to it, I'm like, man, it's fucking crazy. If that's true, that's pretty crazy. But it's, if you take all these, you know, pieces of evidence or pieces of information, and you kind of put them together, you know, like, you know, the Roswell incident, what happened with that, whether or not they did have a body. So to go back to your point, so yeah, you put all those pieces of information. That's kind of what I've been doing ever since I had that experience, I guess. And it wasn't like I avidly or obsessively went out to like seek this information. It was just like through passing or watching movies and stuff like that, or like, you know, obviously when YouTube came around, that kind of was a like kind of put more access in your hands quickly. But to go back to your original question was, and that was one of the things I wanted to talk about, like, if the government, or like, I don't think it's the government. I don't think like most people like that we served with, or like the military, know about it. If it's anybody, it's like I think it's like a private industry, something like a
separate entity that,
like a Lockheed or Northrop Grumman, or maybe all of them. I'm not sure, but it's like a separate entity that's kind of like part of
Illuminati. It's the Illuminati.
Maybe part of the government, or like a subset of it, or somehow, I don't know, maybe it's a black project or what have you. I'm not sure, but somebody's been kind of keeping it, because it's not just the United States either. It's like Russia too,
and Germany, according
Germany,
to
Russia, France, Brazil. There's been sightings all over the world. Africa, of course, Zimbabwe,
Egypt.
I'm sure there's some Egypt. I haven't really heard stuff from Egypt, but I guarantee you with the pyramids and what have you.
Yeah.
But
Other countries
with that, it's
similar
like
public disclosures. Also in
I forgot where I was going
2004,
with
the
that.
Mexican Air Force
But yeah, I don't
confirmed
know.
this
Is the
video
public
shot
with
by
the
one of their
public
pilots near the coast
like
of
me
Baja,
even being
California.
aware of it? I was actually it was kind of funny. We were talking about this because
Aware of it or
In
exposed to
2014, the
it?
helicopter from the
maybe
Chilean
both.
Navy
I don't
locked
know.
onto
Maybe
an
And then that's
unidentified
what, and then
object,
that's
emitting
what's
what appeared to be
Maybe.
sulfur
driving
gas or vapor.
your
Both
curiosity
governments have said
to,
they
I don't know, maybe
investigated, but
someday you
couldn't
could draw you
determine
back
what
to
the
it.
objects were.
maybe
For
maybe
those like science writer Sarah
maybe if I were
Scholes,
to do like
could
a what do they call it? Something regression where they put you under hypnosis and they're able to pull up information like from your subconscious.
I heard you could do that your own by doing DMT.
I'm pretty sure you could, and maybe that's another form of accessing. Because
And then from that, and to go along with what you're talking about, that Joe Rogan video that you sent me about, how certain governments let them experiment on them in the woods and in the forest. What do? You mountain bike in the woods and in the forest.
yeah, it's true.
Yeah. Have you ever night ridden before?
Yeah,
Like
I have. I mean, it's usually with the light and stuff, but I haven't come across anything or nothing. I mean, at least not that I'm aware of.
getting
But
closer and closer.
so what would you? Yeah, so I forgot what we're looking at, but I asked Sandy that question, like, if no shit, like even though we are aware of it through different podcasts and different understandings, different documentaries, etc. And even if but like no shit, if UAP whatever were to land right now and you were to see these beings come off a ship or whatever, like I don't even think I would be able to comprehend and process it, and that's me being aware of it.
I think little people come out.
I've heard different things, dude. I've heard like little people. I've heard like
I know some
beings.
people come out. I would be so scared. People come out. I would pee on myself. I probably
Yeah,
would.
I mean, and that's one of the theories. It is like, what if it's aliens are us in the future? And I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I mean, they could all be true. I mean, but going off of more recent pictures from the James Webb telescope, I don't know if you've seen any of those where all these stars that we see in the sky, those are actually suns, or I mean, we kind of knew that already. But there's also galaxies around each one of those suns. So like if you see that picture, it's like there's like I don't even know how many, but there's a lot. So to take that in mind and to think of just the Milky Way or like our galaxy, that's just one, and then there's fucking thousands, if not millions of them, and that we can actually see. So I don't know. I mean, like the probability of more life being in our universe, and I don't even want to get into the multiverse theory or nothing like that, but it's pretty, it's highly likely that we're not alone. But
I think it would be kind of selfish of us to think that we're just it, that it's just us.
But going back to your point earlier, there's some, you can take solitude in like not wanting to understand that and just understanding like what we already know to be true. Because once we accept the idea that we're not alone, then that that plays into a whole different part of our understanding of our existence. Like
it just opens up different levels.
Because you would have to question, I don't want to say question God, but it would change the view of what people think of God or their version of God or their understanding of God. I know some people may see God as a person in the clouds. I see him as omnipresent. He exists in everything, all of us, all at once. And that's still, I'm still packaging that for myself, through going through different texts and books and stuff. But either way, my point is that, yeah, it would change everything. And then that's not even talking about technology. Like if we have had the technology that some of these people claim, like, have you ever heard of Bob Lazar?
Never.
Bob Lazar was allegedly he's a propulsion expert or scientist. I don't know if I'm jacking up his title, but he claimed, and this was back in the 80s, he claimed he was working at Area 51 on propulsion systems on alien propulsion systems. He came out because he was let go, I believe, because when in a program like that, according to him, that they were tapping his phone lines and everything else, and they found out that his wife was cheating on him, and then he became a risk, even though he didn't know that she was cheating on him.
What?
Yeah, so they released him, like they fired him before, like, hey, you can't work here anymore, and he didn't understand why. But I don't know if that was the reason why he went out. It was a combination of things, because he said that it doesn't make sense as a scientist. Like, science is supposed to work like in open communication. You share the evidence so you can find, get everyone's perspective and their experiences to find out what the best answer is for whatever it is that they're working on.
Yeah, you would think that's the goal of science.
Yeah, but he said in they compartmentalized everything. So within the program that he was in, so they, like, somebody, if you work on propulsion, that's all you worked on. You didn't have any access to this other project that was working on, I don't know, the metals of the ship or what have you. Because he said he walked into, he saw like alien spacecraft. He drew pictures of them. He's pretty detailed, and his story hasn't changed since the 80s. He hasn't made any money off of it either.
He's still alive though.
He's still alive, but I think that's why he came out with it, because he said that was the only way he would stay alive. Like, there's some old footage of him like talking, and and his story hasn't changed, even more so now. Like, his house still gets like raided by the FBI and stuff. That's crazy, man. And there's an investigative journalist, Jeremy Corbell. He's been kind of tracking it. He's actually, I don't know, it's strange how he's kind of found, like, not he found, but he's kind of the center of all this. People like leak information to him, but it's not just him. It's not just him. It's not just Bob Lazar. It's like a series of people. Like, all the people that said they were crazy are now starting to be like, well, maybe there's some truth to it. And then especially when you have like the Pentagon coming out and acknowledging that there are craft out there that may not be ours, or that are not ours, was what they're saying.
Crazy how they answered it ambiguously,
Yeah. And so there's a lot of that. I mean, we could get into defense. Like, I understand from a defense standpoint, that if you have any secret things, you don't want those secrets to get out so other countries know about them. You know what I mean? Like, because then they. But if it's
aliens, I would think that you would want other countries to know about it, because it would affect us all.
Yeah, I mean, you would think, but I mean, we could play devil's advocate. Is that, certain people within, because if you think about it, like, most presidents, at least in the United States, they only do that long as 8 terms.
Yeah, and that's it.
Would you want to give somebody that information knowing that they're going to leave office soon? I think a lot of people that would be the gatekeepers for this were people that have been there for years and have the continuity. You know what I mean?
But then that's a double-edged sword. They might have their continuity of fucked up thinking.
And they very well may have, and maybe that's why, it's been a secret for someone. I'm not sure. And that's what's interesting about it, is that, like, this isn't the first time. There's been, like, I think in Michigan there was like a mass sighting, like in the late 60s, and in Arizona the same thing. There was like I think in the 90s. I forgot what the mayor's name was, or the governor. And he pretty much, like, the whole city, I think, I want to say it was Phoenix. The Phoenix Lights is what it's called. So y'all can go look that up.
Phoenix Lights.
Yeah, Phoenix Lights. And, like, the entire city saw these lights, and they didn't know what it was. Obviously, there was like a panic. And then when the mayor, the governor, I forgot what he was, came out the next day, they kind of ridiculed it. They're like, all right, bring the alien into custody. And then it was some, like, I guess his deputy was wearing like an alien like costume, and then they apprehended him, and then they're like, he was kind of making fun of it, but at the same time the city was pissed because they were like, we didn't fucking, like, That's not what we saw. You're not like believing what we're saying. Fast
Yeah,
forward, they interviewed him, I don't know, like a year or two ago. And he was like, yeah, I shouldn't have done that. I should have. In other words, he was admitting that what he did was wrong. Like, he said he saw those lights too. But why
he
did he do that? You know what I
was
mean?
doing what he was told to do.
Yeah. So, I mean, he didn't say that, but he just said that he shouldn't have did that. And it's, I don't know. It's like stuff like that. And whether or not when you do things like that, it it discredits you. It discredits like the whole
Absolutely.
system. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's not even like just our immediate history. It's like going back to, cave drawings, going back to the Hopi Indians, the Native Americans, talking about the Star People. Um, the history goes way back. Egyptians, they always like kind of talk about the stars, and they were more in tune with that than we are today, at least most of us, anyways. Um, and it's on even some tapestries, like from the Renaissance and before. It's not
And
like anything.
it's gonna be here after us too.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So there has to be something to that. It's not just one piece of evidence or one thing I'm pointing to. It's like a collage of different events that I don't know, man. There's like a famous one. I think it was in Zimbabwe where there was a bunch of school kids at a school, obviously, and the teacher, the teachers, everyone saw this. Like this aircraft landed, and I don't know if they got off, but these kids, even now, were interviewed about that day, and they said that they didn't talk to them like verbally, but they talked to them telepathically, and they felt like this calm, like they knew who they were, like intuitively they knew that, and I think they told the kids like pretty much like what we understand today is like we we're destroying this world. We need to take better care of it. We need to all these things, right? And then it left or whatever. But the teacher saw it, the kids saw it, and even to this day they were interviewed and told, what did you feel about that day? So you need to check that out too. It's pretty wild stuff, and
Zimbabwe.
I believe it was Zimbabwe.
How you spell Zimbabwe?
That's a good question. ZIMB way Zimbabwe. I think it's ZIMBAW Zimbabwe. BABWAE. So
Nothing.
I mean, it's fascinating.
How do you spell Zimbabwe?
Yeah, and so even like so the Soviet Union then, but they put together because they had their own like Roswell incident, and for those that don't know about Roswell, supposedly there was a craft that crashed there, and
try
again.
That's how slow. That's how slow and a piece of crap my Google device is.
Oh, you're good. So yeah, there was a craft that crashed in New Mexico, and supposedly there was like the Air Force came in and got all the debris, or the Army, whatever branch, maybe all of them went in, cleared up the area. Kind of, that's where Project Blue Book came in, made a story to kind of discredit everything that happened, and they said it was like a weather balloon, but the people on site like still had pieces of the ship, the metal. They kind of took away to their own homes, so they didn't get everything. And that's kind of where it started, where like the Project Blue Book was created by, I don't know, the Pentagon, the Air Force government, I'm not sure, I don't remember, to like discredit or explain away these phenomena that were happening. So they would show up and get the story, and then be like, oh yeah, it was probably like swamp gas, what you saw, off the atmosphere, it does this. But so they went around doing that, but then in the background they were like, hey man, there's some truth to this. It was Albert Hynek, I believe he was a professor at a university, was the person that kind of lead that, and he did it with I believe, a captain in the Air Force. He was kind of like the oversight, the government handler. So they went around and explained away things. So that's where, so that agency was created, which was called Project Blue Book.
Maybe after this episode, they might be reaching out to you, see if you want a job.
Maybe. Shit, I'm probably the least person to fucking do that. I'm, like I said, I'm not even up to my neck in this, and I know some people that they're ufologists is what they call them, and they're like really into the weeds on it, probably like too much. But at the same time, if you see something that has kind of changed your perception on reality, then why wouldn't you? I don't think I was affected that profoundly on that one incident, and I have seen some things like that I can't explain, and I just kind of just like, man, that was wild. Like, I don't know what that was, and technically it's a UFO, but I mean, there are a lot of things in the sky. There's like satellites. There's the space station. There's these different things, um, aircraft to fly at high altitudes. Like, I'm aware of all those things, so I can kind of discern like what's what. I mean, obviously, I can't. What's that?
This gets me to thinking, not to cut you off, but it gets me to thinking, like, at my first duty station, I worked with alongside of the U2s. So I could only imagine the things that they saw.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, that they're not able to talk about.
Yeah. And now that's a crazy thing, is because now it's being encouraged because of Commander David Fravor, who was flying the F-14 off the coast of California. I want to say around the San Diego area. They tracked a Tic Tac is what they call it, and they followed it around. And that alone is pretty wild. I
don't know what a Tic Tac is.
So it looks like a Tic Tac. It looks like a white or silver like Tic Tac. And it's about 15 meters, 10 to 15 meters long. And they were out doing like, I don't know, like a bombing mission or something out in the ocean, or just flying around. I don't recall what their main mission was, but they were out there, and then they came across this like Tic Tac that they started following, and then they couldn't keep up with it, and then like they said it like came out of nowhere. That's what happened. It came out of nowhere, and they tracked it on radar and whatever other systems they had, and it went from like something like 80,000 feet to like, I don't know, right above the water, like within a matter of a second or so. It was like something ridiculous. They tried following it, they lost it, and then when they were going back to their rendezvous point or their next cap point, it was already there waiting. So they already knew where they were going. So it was like way ahead of like a system that was way ahead. They couldn't like track. And I think they even said they got locked on, or they tried to lock on, or it locked on them or something like that. But that wasn't the first time that's happened in that area. There's also been like Navy ships that have been reporting it, like even more recently. So my point is that they're supposedly encouraging, I don't say supposedly, but they're encouraging like for people to come forth with it, because they've actually set up a actual agency within the government, like I think Congress oversight committee.
They're encouraging the world to snitch,
pretty much, and to
say something.
Yeah, so they're trying to. I don't know. I mean, it's kind of hard. Like, it's kind of hard to know what's true and what's not. Right? It seems like today it's even more difficult to find the truth in information. It just seems
you can create stuff so visually.
Yeah,
this is what I saw. See, look.
Yeah, even so much so that there's a phone. I saw there's a phone app that you could like point it to the sky, and it will put like a UFO in there or whatever. So that it muddies the waters even more. Like, you have to be a little bit more. And I think that's why this Tic Tac like film, and you can watch it, it's like 7 minutes or whatever. I think it's like 10 minutes, but they only like showed the oversight committee in Congress like 5 minutes of it, and they were pissed off because they're like, why didn't we get the the whole thing. But with that, it's like, I don't know, man. It's hard to. So that's what I was trying. That's what I was trying to say. I was like, what am I trying to say? So with that, it's like, why, not why, dude. I'm losing my train of thought.
Oh,
Yep, getting zapped.
concentration.
Yeah. So I don't know. It's pretty
How's your
wild.
circulation going? I mean, if you might need to take a pause, you still on one knee?
No, I'm sitting down.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But yeah, so I think what I was trying to get around to was we had our own Roswell incident in America, is what, at least what ufologists talk about. And then Russia had one too, and then they set up an organization called SETKA, SETKA, and it was a joint academic. So they got with their university professors, scientists, and a military program which was created, and they worked together to try to figure out what it was, because they had their own incident, like I want to say like it was in the 70s, 78, where they yeah, because that's another thing. A lot of these UFOs or UAPs, they're, I don't want to say hacking, but overriding nuclear sites.
Yeah, I would imagine so, because the technology is a little bit more advanced.
Yeah, so that's what was happening over there with their nukes. So they set up this program like, hey, let's figure out what the fuck's going on. But yeah, man, I mean, I don't know if the public could handle that. I mean, either way, like somebody
We
or
wouldn't have a
something.
choice.
What's that?
I said we wouldn't have a choice if they just started just flooding us with it. We wouldn't have a choice. We just have to, get down
No,
or let.
yeah. But then that begs the bigger question, right? Let's say it is aliens, right? That's a whole different like ball of wax right there. Like that has implications like both religiously, economically, everything else, like technology wise. And that's what was gonna be my next step, was like, let's say it is like we do have these, we reverse engineered these aircraft or these UFOs, right? Because we've had them since the 50s or 60s, allegedly.
So answer this question: can a alien see ghosts
Maybe.
and spirits? You know what I'm saying? Like people that are spiritual and say they get these visions. So can ghosts see those as well? See aliens and vice versa?
Maybe. I mean, because then now you're going into like the multi-dimensional theories,
Yeah.
like where there's many different realities existing at once, and it's just like a thin veil of, because we can only see what our body allows us to see. So that's one. So to make my point is, some of these UFOs or UAPs they're catching in the sky, people are catching them with infrared lenses. We can't see infrared through our human eyes. So like if you look up in the sky, like if they were to just use a regular lens, there's nothing there. But if they put up an infrared lens, then they could see it, and they'll see them phasing in and out. So maybe ghosts exist on a different spectrum, like a different light spectrum than we
I've
do.
seen that in the one of the Doctor Strange movies. He was
Those are
going
wild
through
movies.
time or something, and then he like killed himself and turned himself into a ghost to help fight something.
Oh yeah, so he astrally projected. So okay, astral projection is like what your soul, your body, your body of light is that's what that is. I mean, they had to put, instead of putting a body light, they had to actually put like his body, because it wouldn't make sense to just see a light try to fight another light. But yeah, astral projection is that it's your soul, your spirit, your essence, whatever. Like what happens after you die, in theory, is
Yeah.
that your your energy continues to live on, and that's what people. So yeah, that was his astral projection. He pushed himself out of his body so he can go and like fight whatever. But yeah, that's and monks say that they're able to do that. And so there's all these different understandings of beliefs, like those.
Take your time, as they
Yeah,
say.
it's a lot
You're doing
because
church. You're doing church. Take your time. Take your
yeah,
time.
man, it's a lot because you're having to consider like many different theories and understandings, and I'm not even probably doing the best job of explaining it, but
Yeah.
it's a lot
But
because
they
if
all connect. They
yeah,
all
and
connect.
so
Like
yeah, I mean, quantum theory that kind of proves that as well that everything's connected. Um,
fire the trees.
yeah, trees. Yeah, so I don't know, man. It's definitely a lot, and maybe that's why a lot of people. I don't want to say that they choose not to to research it, but honestly, like if you have, if you're working and then you have kids and you're doing all these events and you don't have time to think about it. You don't have time to like go down these rabbit holes or whatever.
It takes energy.
Yeah,
It takes energy.
and it's crazy because even like when I was like working and everything, like I it's still like on my personal time, I would still to try to kind of escape what the reality was. I would go down these rabbit holes, just like, man, this is crazy. Like I would listen to shows like was it Coast to Coast? I don't even remember what that guy's name, the host of that was, but he would just it was crazy conversations. Like people would call in and they're like, yeah, I'm a time traveler from, 2042 or whatever. And I was like, what is this guy serious? Like on one level, you want to kind of discredit it, like that's fucking bullshit. But on another level, it's like,
Be heard on the radio, but
yeah,
then
on another level, like the way he was talking, I mean, he could have been schizophrenic, but the way he was talking, it was like a genuine in his voice. And I was like, that
like
would be
those
crazy.
details, those details are too detailed.
Yeah. And I was just like, that'd be crazy if that was like possible or that was true. But that's as far as it went with me. It wasn't like, oh my God, there's a time traveler calling right. Hey, calling, like trying to call my family and stuff, tell them or nothing. But it was just, it was crazy. It was like, it's like sci-fi, right? You watch, I don't know, you talk about Doctor Strange and then it's just like to fantasize about that idea. But one thing about Doctor Strange is it connected a lot of the dots, like when it talks about like meditation, it talks about acupuncture, it talks about um, even like Western medicine, like it. And she tells him like you're looking through the world through a keyhole. Even though he was so knowledgeable in his career, is his field as far as he was a surgeon, I think a neurosurgeon or what have you.
Mhm.
And even though that he had understood that concept, or I don't know if he's a neurosurgeon, he was a surgeon of some kind, but he was an expert in it. Like he still didn't understand like the broader picture. It's like he was just focusing on like one part of the picture, not the entire picture or the entire painting or what have you. And I think many of us do that if we were to actually, zoom out and see like everything for what it was. It might give us a different understanding of who we are and what we're capable of.
That goes within like living in the moment and
Mhm.
what I'm saying, and really embracing the moment of what's going on instead of just going through the motions.
Yeah, because if you're so distracted with whatever it is, like a cell phone, that you're not actually paying attention or not understanding, like just trees. You talked about trees, right? Trees. I never really had a fond appreciation for trees, and not,
I
but
love trees.
I do too, man. I do too, and I guess some people call me like a tree hugger. I have done that a couple of times, and just I don't know, it's just like, damn, this is a badass tree. But if you actually appreciate what trees are, like, and understand like how they talk to each other, like there was an experiment where they put I think it was three trees in the same room in the same amount of dirt, and they would, I want to say they poisoned it or they did something to one tree, or they put like a insect on there, and this insect was eating the leaves, and the other trees like sent nutrients to the that tree to help fight off those insects,
Wow.
and vice versa. Or like sun, if the sun was only on this tree, this
Mhm.
this tree would send nutrient, like whatever photon, whatever it is that they use, this photosynthesis, to the other trees. So if you think about trees on a network, and I think about this because more like trail building out,
Yeah.
there's also something called a mother tree. In every forest, there's a mother tree that's like, I guess, the first tree, and it like kind of controls the network of all the trees in this forest, or trees in the forest. And if you take out that tree, I want to say that they all die or something like that. So if you're not aware of what you're cutting down, then you could like kill many of them. And then there's also trees that are invasive and yada yada. But yeah, but if you don't understand that, because you don't really have an appreciation, and you're just constantly like on technology or what have you, then you're like destroying the world without even knowing it. Or like, and people want to talk about like
You
the
just focus
environment.
on your lens instead of
Yeah,
the. Yeah. Just
people want
focus
to
on.
tweet like, I don't know, like global warming and all this stuff. And I'm not saying that we don't have an impact on it, but you also have an impact as an individual by not understanding how you exist in the world and how the world exists with you. Does that make sense?
Yeah. We've got to coincide together to make it work if you
Yeah.
want to.
And I think a lot of people feel that we're external to this world and we're like the priority in this world, but really we can't exist without trees. We can't exist without water. And if we not aware of how they impact us and we impact them, then we're never going to get to the root cause of it. And just depending on a government entity to do that is not, I don't think it's enough. I mean, granted, they do have the capability to make laws and change them, but if we are fighting against those laws because we're ignorant to what trees are to us or how they help us breathe, and then carbon dioxide is released and we inhale it, and when we exhale, it's, was it vice versa, they release carbon dioxide, and then we exhale it CO2, and it's like an exchange of
It's the harmony between us
right.
and.
And I could be jacking that up, but either way, my point is that, yeah, it's if we're so distracted by technology, and we don't understand the very basic nature of what we are, then mental health, everything is just going to continue to like go to shit until we become symbiotic with technology, because it seems like that's the way we're going.
Yeah,
We're gonna merge with
that's what's done.
technology.
Someone's going to get paid billions of dollars to get that going in
Yeah,
certain.
it's already started. I told you
Yeah,
about it, Elon Musk and Neuralink.
yeah,
But I don't know, man. It's pretty crazy.
yeah. I
Um,
don't know. Like right now, the way my back feels, if there was a chip inserted in my body to adjust it every time my back goes out, I don't know. I might sign up for it.
yeah, and that's the first application is to this Neuralink is supposed to be for like disabled people. I believe that's kind of the way it always starts. It starts out with something good, and then people find a way to manipulate it for their own purposes. I'm not saying that that's Elon Musk's intention, but usually anybody that creates something, it's usually for a good purpose for most of the time, and
To
it's
get more
usually like,
followers.
yeah, hacked. But yeah, that is supposed to be like, so somebody's blind, this Neuralink is supposed to be able to activate something in the brain because it's installed or implanted in your brain,
Mhm.
and it is supposed to activate those sensors or neurons or whatever, like, so you can see again, or if you're paralyzed, it could activate, like, through electrical signals, activate those limbs to start using them again. It's pretty wild stuff. And I just saw in the news the other day too that I think this has been around for a while. They've been working on it for a while, but like pigs, they did something with pigs where they're able to activate their organs again. They were like dead for an hour, like these organs, and the pig was dead too. And they injected or stimulated something in the pig, and it came back to life. The organs and everything. Well, the organs came back to life, and then the pig came back to life.
What?
Yeah, I just saw that yesterday, I think. Um,
Yeah, they're gonna have the option to live forever if we want, as long as it's how much money you got, or if you
yeah,
want to.
so
want to sell your soul or something like that.
Yeah. And I don't know. I think it's good, but at the same time, that's what makes life worth living is the idea that you're gonna die one day.
Yeah, I guess for some.
Well, because if you cling on to life, I mean, it's easier said than done. And for those that probably lost people, I mean, they're like, can get angry or what have you. But pulling away from that, it's imagine. Okay, look at vampires, right? Not that, I mean, shit. I don't know if they're real now, considering all the shit we just talked about. Maybe
I know,
chupacabra,
right? They could
maybe
be.
the chupacabra or something. But with that, it's like if you had the opportunity to live for 3,000 years and then you saw all your family die off. You know what I mean? I mean, on the other side of that. So there's a bunch of different problems with
Can
that.
you respond? Can you keep like offspring or no?
Well,
No,
aside from the vampire thing, because I don't think vampires can. I guess technically they can if they were to bite somebody, they can create that offspring through that, but not
yeah,
like a
but
biological offspring.
yeah,
But going with the pig thing, I guess in this case, yes, you could, because if you're still alive, then you could recreate or procreate,
yeah.
and technically you could. And then technically you could keep your family members alive if you could afford it.
If you can afford it,
But right now we already have a overpopulation issue with like our country, like our resources are being like, hey, man, it's gonna be like, damn, this is a fucking depressing podcast. But
so we
if you
talk
think of,
about everything, real life. Catch up.
yeah, but so you could live forever, but imagine if everyone lived forever. There was no death. What would this life look
There would
like?
be no room for nothing.
Yeah, there would be no room for nothing. And people, if we still have it as good as I feel we have, as at least in America, then people are fighting over stupid shit now. I can't imagine what it would be like in 20 years if it continues on the same path. I,
Fighting over internet.
yeah,
Everybody, I don't know. Who
I,
knows?
and that's
Fighting over
why,
earplugs.
yeah, and I think that's why death is necessary. It helps us appreciate those who we loved. I mean, because not for nothing, like I hate to say it, but I don't call my family every day. And I'm here in San Antonio. I don't see them every day.
Mhm.
Everyone has their own lives, but when let's go back to like when I lost my mom, like I didn't, and that was for a number of different reasons that we didn't like talk most of the time, and that's a whole different podcast on its own. But
Mhm.
when she passed, it made me like appreciate her more. The words that she said to me, the lessons that she taught me, the way she raised me, and I'm not saying it was all perfect, but it was more profound after she passed. You know what I mean? Everyone that I've lost in my life, I've appreciated more after they died after than when they were alive. And it's actually made me when I'm with somebody like a family member, I'm not on my phone most of the time. I'm like talking to them, I'm engaged with them. Like I usually sometimes I leave my phone in the car and I'm just like enjoying the time with them because that's one thing that made me realize was that I probably wasn't the most present in a lot of these situations because I was thinking about something else or I was arguing with so and so or whatever, and I didn't appreciate like the time. I wasn't in the moment, and maybe that comes with growth and wisdom within life. But
Mhm.
each death has taught me something about myself, and whether it's hey, you need to be healthier, or hey, you need to drive, safer. Hey, don't do this, because these profound experiences have kind of taught me something about myself. I mean, if you're that introspective about it, but if you're a narcissist, then
Yeah.
nobody can tell you anything really. So can you imagine that if no one ever died?
No, I don't know. Like I know.
Like just take New York City. for example, if people never died and people were like being born that they where they are now, you know,
It wouldn't even be able to. Everything would be so much more expensive.
housing is an issue now.
Yeah,
Yeah, so I couldn't imagine like
I
if
couldn't
nobody ever
imagine.
died.
If nobody never died, could you
Yeah,
imagine? That
and
could be
then
a movie. Nobody never died.
yeah, yeah. So I mean, I don't know. I'm not saying,
People will be
and
living in the air. We'll be
yeah,
living in the air.
and then how do you decide that? Like, how do you decide who lives? Like as a physician, if you have the capability to revive somebody, like are they? Is
As
that
long as
just
you got like as long as you financially are able to stay alive forever, you can stay alive forever. But if you can't afford it, you die.
that's what I'm saying? Like, and that's going to cause resentment within.
Yeah, that would.
Like there would have to be some type of protocol put in place if you were to go down that hole, that rabbit hole of or that.
Man, it would be so many levels of
Yeah,
lifestyles.
because it would be like, well, the person has to be if they're past the age of 70, then they don't get this opportunity to live. Or you know what I mean? You would have to draw the line somewhere because or like certain conditions, like I don't know, like I can see a good application for it if like it's a
You like
child.
you have to apply for it or something. I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Your
So I
financial
don't know.
income, your status. What have you put back into society up to this point in your life? You know what I'm saying? That's what you're paying into it. All that.
Yeah. So I don't
That'd
know,
be
man.
stay tuned. That could be a TV show.
Yeah. That'd be crazy. So yeah, and I don't know where again it's I don't know, man. It's I don't even know where to go from there.
We've been a lot of places.
Yeah, it's yeah.
I know where to
Because
go. Where can I go to get one of them shirts that you got on?
you can go to Uncana's website. It's a veteran nonprofit, not a veteran nonprofit. It's a veteran owned CBD company out of Colorado. And
Yeah, I'm
yeah,
gonna have to look them up, man. My back's been messing with me, fucking with me. Shit.
yeah, dude, their products are pretty good. They have tinctures, they have gummies, they have um, and one thing I love about it, it's not because it seems like everywhere you look now, you can find products that are CBD. But one thing I've learned from talking to some of the people that own these companies is that there's a lot of shady shit that happens in the background, like where they're not properly when they extract the oil from the plants and what have you. The containers that they have them in are not the most sterile, or the like the process. There's somewhere in the process where you can get contaminants or what have you, or just leakage from whatever products that or the storage containers that they have. So there's a lot of stuff that happens in the behind the scenes that you have to be kind of careful with. And based off of my conversations with the owner of this company, it seems like they've avoided to do a lot of the stuff, and they have, you know, they watch it from cradle to grave of like how it's being created.
Nice. I'm gonna
So
definitely have to check that out.
yeah,
Because there's no reason that I'm walking around like George Jefferson right now. There's no
you,
reason.
you need to do like I do, man. I need to pick up yoga, dude, and start stretching out my hamstrings and my hip flexors and all that stuff, man. Starting to come with age, man.
Yeah, I mean, I got my yoga mat, my foam roller. I haven't been as active with that, but I have been working out 6 days a week.
Nice. There you go.
Yeah, oh yeah, shout out to Jump Funny. You know what I'm saying? Charles Allen. This is one of my homeboys from day one. He's a comedian out there.
Oh, nice.
Doing this thing.
Yeah, man. I've been trying to work up the nerve to go do an open mic.
Do it.
Yeah, I just haven't
Learn.
looked it up. I have some stuff I've written and stuff, even some stuff recently that's kind of come up and stuff. And yeah.
Yeah, I looked at my phone. You're talking about staying in the moment, but I was looking at my phone because the provider of my new edition, my dog, is coming. So stay tuned.
Oh, the Weimaraner.
Yes, indeed.
Nice. You can give him little booties for the winter.
No, I want to train him to be kind of tough. I don't think dog shoes are a thing in my mind.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. That's kind of what I didn't expect for this conversation to go in the way it did, but I'm kind of glad it did. It was kind of I don't know. It's a lot to consider. I mean, you're talking about ghosts and you're talking about like, earlier before the podcast started talking about like witch hunting, like where if you look for something, you're gonna find something. And I do believe in that, but I think that's if you're looking for it blindly, like just I need to find something. I'm gonna find something.
Yeah.
But I do feel that like
the sign means this.
right. It's if you're trying to make things out of nothing to try to fit your case. And there are a lot of people that do that. I try to go in with an open mind and like ask the questions of like, well, what could it be? Could it be that? Could it be this? Maybe it's this, or maybe it's that. Like just in Colorado last week, I was in the back. We were in the back, and it was a clear night, and I was just looking at the stars. That's something I like to do. I just like to look up, and I don't know, it's something I've done for a while now. And I was looking up, and we saw some shooting stars, which were pretty cool.
You make a wish?
Huh?
Did you make wishes?
No, I don't. That's one thing I don't do is make wishes. I guess I should. Couldn't hurt, right?
Can't hurt. Like the lotto.
Especially we saw. I want to say we saw at least 3 of them. But before I was about to go in, I was looking up at the sky, and I was just kind of looking, and then like, oh, shit, like I just saw like a bright light. Like it wasn't. You could see the stars. You could see aircraft in the sky. You can even see what I was seeing satellites, kind of like tracking way up, like very small. You can see them tracking, across the sky. Like if it's a clear night where there's not a whole lot of light pollution, you can see like there's a lot of stuff in the sky, and there could be aircraft at high altitudes. But this one came in like super bright. It was like I can't really give you the perspective of it other than try to explain it as best as I can. But it was super bright, so much so that, and it was high enough up where you could tell. I don't know if it was an aircraft, there would be lights on it, there would be noise, something. But it was super bright, and it was just kind of tracking across, brighter than everything else.
Could have been an electric aircraft.
It could have been, I guess, but it wouldn't be this bright. This bitch would have had to be on fire, or like some bright energy. It was just like a bright ball, and it was just going across the sky, and it was going slow enough. We were like me, and then I showed it. Like I call it because Jonathan was about to go inside, and I was like, "Hey man, check that out," and he was like, "Yeah, that's pretty bright." And he was already about to go inside, and I was just like, I don't know what it is. So he ended up going inside, and I tracked it. Just going and going and going, and then just like faded out. I don't know what that was. I mean, technically it is a UFO, but it could have been anything. Fuck, I don't know.
But put John McGraw with your phone and shh.
No, and that's what I was saying earlier. I was like, I'll probably grab my phone, but I didn't, because I was afraid if I went inside to go get my phone, then I would miss it. You know what I mean? It would just go away. So I was just like looking at it, and I can't even with my phone. I can't even get a good picture of the moon. Let alone
at night. It'll be a good one tonight.
What?
A good moon.
Oh, okay. Well, yeah, but it wasn't the moon though. It was something else. But I know what you're saying. But anyways, so yeah, it's this will probably be a conversation and a subject that we talk about more. I know there's another guy I want to have on the podcast. I spoke with him, and he's kind of into the aliens and ghosts and stuff like that as well. So he's also a veteran. So kind of more to come on this subject. But yeah, I just thought it'd be like, switch it up a little bit, talk about a little something different.
Goes with the background of what you created. Of the
Yeah,
Crash
man. And it's kind of like, if you go to Instagram, it's at Crash and Chug. You could, like, the explanation of what the podcast is it's like everything everywhere all at once. And if you haven't seen that movie's fucking crazy. It's like crazy cool. It's talking about like different realities, multi-dimensional ideas, and accessing other lives by like hacking the universe with these absurd, like, acts, I guess. I don't know. It's crazy. But either way, that's what this is like this podcast where you talk about everything. We talk about people's stories with, yeah, exactly. We're just kind of in and out, phasing in and out of conversation.
Absolutely. Absolutamente.
But yeah, but yeah, I don't know where else to go from this, and we could keep going on it, but I think I'm just kind of in the back of my mind, just kind of processing what we just talked about and just thinking about it, and then yeah. But do you have anything to add on this?
No, man, this is a good one. I got some good information.
Yeah, so I think Chugg's going to go back and do a little bit of homework, and we can kind of probably talk more at length with this. I mean, I barely even scratched the surface of all the different, I don't even want to call them conspiracy theories, like, because
they're coming, being more open to the public.
Yeah, because that's a negative. Like, that's what something you say for, like, just to shut somebody up, like say they're a loon or they're crazy or what have you. But if you actually kind of, start, peeling back the onion, so to speak, then you'd be surprised of what you could find. And yeah, like I said, I'm not even doing it justice. I barely even, hit the tip of the spear on this. It's pretty fascinating. And that's just the United States. I didn't even get, so it's Russia, like I said, Brazil, the Antarctica thing. That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
And I don't know.
All that.
I think there's a lot of this world and our existence that we don't fully understand. And this, like, society that that's a piece of it, but that's not the whole piece of it. It's just like what we're involved with, because that's what affects our everyday to day. But if we kind of like zoom out and focus, not want to say focus, but let's be aware of other things, there's definitely a lot more to this puzzle, and how we exist in it, just like the trees,
Yeah, and how we gotta coincide with the trees.
Yeah, trees and other things. But yeah, if you guys aren't following us, check out on Instagram, Crash and Chug. It's where the podcast lives. That's where I'm starting to put like the previews for the episodes. I'm trying to manage that one a little bit more. You can follow me at Crash and at Crash. I changed my handle. I don't know if you saw that.
What?
Because I felt like I was manifesting my crashing, because I was crashing a lot. So it's actually Crash _ 5.0. So it's still like Crash 50, but it's like just different.
Revamp.
Yeah. Yep. Well, I guess technically not 550, but 5.0. Or you could follow at
Magnum Almendra. I had to look it up.
Yeah. I guess that's a good thing, I guess.
Yeah, I don't look at it too much.
Not too self-involved.
Yeah, follow me, y'all, because I only got 994 followers.
Dude, you got more followers than I do.
And like probably about 116 of them are all sex bots.
Oh, yeah.
It's not like 800.
I know, man. I'm so tired of blocking those.
Man, like I was looking on my story, be like, why is she naked? I don't get it.
It's not just sex bots. I guess I should clarify on that. Like, damn, how many sex bots you get? It's just bots in general.
Yeah, there's a lot of sex bots on my story. Like,
no, I don't have a lot of sex bots, but I have a lot of bots, like bots for like people selling like mushrooms, selling like weed, selling. What's that?
Nah, I don't get the same ones you get.
Oh yeah, and I don't know how. Maybe because I follow like some people that are into like Paul Stamets, he's a big proponent of like, you know, mushrooms, not necessarily just psilocybin, but mushrooms in general. So maybe that's like kind of leads the bots to my page. I
And I
follow.
guess, but yeah, man, enjoy your day. I'm about to start clearing out space for this pedito.
There you go. All right, guys. Well, thanks for listening again, and look forward to bringing more podcasts to you. We have more guests lined up, just trying to get them scheduled and yeah, we'll keep this going. These conversations, this wild topics, and if you have any comments or questions, or if you had your own experience similar to mine or what have you, you can put those in the comments or what have you. I'll try to get back to you.
Send them on Instagram.
Or send them on Instagram. Yeah. Either way.
Send it.
Yeah, just talk about it and just keep moving forward and have a good time at the same time.
Is as much you as your own body. Your skin doesn't separate you from the world. It's a bridge through which the external world flows into you, and you flow into it. What you are basically, deep down, far in, is simply the fabric and structure of existence itself. And when you find that out, you love yourself so.